YouTube.
Recording is on.
Nice female voice there. So yeah, this is the first public chat we have on this. We were working like in the close group for half a year. Then we tried to open up our product for the wider audience to attract more opinions and so on. We tried that through the forums or Twitter. And now we decided we see more and more people working on the signaling for Ethereum, and not specifically Ethereum, but there's a bunch of guys from Parity and from Magicians and so on. And yeah, it would be nice to get some fresh thoughts and work together as a group, discuss what we can do together, what experiments worked and how, and to not do the double work ideally. So that's the intention for today's call. Let's maybe have a quick intro round. So we will have some starting point here. I can start. I'm Max. I'm you can say I can do some product management in the team now, because I prioritize the feature ideas we have and do the design for them. And and I pass to Bogdan.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So my name is Bogdan. I work with Max. So I'm engineer. So I write a code.
Mm-hmm.
So full stack developer. In the past, I was developer. So now I work on Telegraph, and I'm the main engineer on this project. So I pass to this next one. Who will be next? I don't know the name. Fellow user.
Want me to go next?
Yeah,
okay. Sure.
Yeah, Brent Alsop. I'm a software engineer, so I've been working on web applications for my career, but now I'm working on Canonizer.com. We've got a team of about 8 people developing the code for that, and yeah, that's me.
Cool.
And do we have anybody else? Jonas. Hey, Jonas. Hey, Jonas, can you hear us well?
Bent key.
Or maybe not. Just in case, we're doing an intro round. So we've gone through who everybody is here. Jonas, if you can join and tell a bit about you, it would be nice. But if you can't hear us or something, that's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry, just a technical problem. Yeah, so I'm Jonas from Slocket. I'm a developer here. I am in charge of the Opinionator project, which Christoph introduced during the Blockchain Week in Berlin at DevCon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's basically what I do.
Mm-hmm. I also sent the link to the chat with the document where we can add any comments, additions, stuff like that. I can see a Telegraph. So let's see what we want to discuss today. Definitely one of the interesting points is would be nice to know more about Opinionator and what we can do together. Anything else we want to discuss today?
Maybe current projects about signaling. Maybe somebody has similar project and we can discuss it.
Mm-hmm. maybe I'll start the screen share so it will be easier to track. Jonas, did you had any points you wanted to bring to this meeting?
No, not in particular.
And Brent, you? Or mostly curiosity?
We can't hear you. We can't.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, just curiosity. Want to see, get to know you guys, see what you're working on, and see if there's anything we can do to help.
Okay, I also added like a small overview of what happened recently, because we weren't like too public about that, and maybe that's a good opportunity to tell what we did. And like after we discuss those points, we can have a free chat. So okay,
Yeah.
so
Cool.
Yeah, everybody's okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah, fine.
Cool. So overview of the work like we did till today. So like we had some confusion recently about the EthSignals and Tena graph, because like previously we mostly talked about Tena graph, and recently we started to talk more about EthSignals. That's been the thing that we worked a lot on this Tena graph product under Aragon grant and some other grants from Gitcoin and so on. So we were focused mostly on developing the app. But what we recognized is that the problem is not just easily solvable through the app itself. It takes a lot of promotion, education, research. Maybe the path we took would need to be changed or something. So we kind of have this working group. I hope that we together and maybe more people will start to associate together with the group EthSignals and try to really improve the work of signaling in Ethereum, for example, as the test network for our ideas, and the one that most needs help, as it seems. So we of course have some progress with the ProcPow. This was the first proposal we started to collect signals. So the idea of Tena graph, if you haven't seen, is like we try to accumulate all the stances and signal in one place from social media, and we add additional perspectives on the, for example, gas voting. So we measure the amount of gas spent, and thus can see maybe better perspective from the dApp developers or active users. So, like in general, the participation in the coin voting wasn't that high, like as in previous ones as well. But we collected over like around 200 of media stances, and we sorted them in the matter, like in the order of priority by their popularity in the social media. So that was our first experiment. Then we started to, like recently we published the article about collecting more insights from coin voting overall. So we took the EAP 186, which was, I think, the DAO fork EAP, which also where the carbon vote was used like at first. And we tried to analyze the behavior behind addresses that participated in that, and we tried to categorize them.
Clustering, like.
Yeah, cluster them into some categories. For example, lots of like funds on the account, but not a lot of transaction, or like medium amount of coins, like average or something, and lots of transactions and so on. So we tried to outline some potential groups. That was just the very first try. We can't say like we overall, again, the amount of addresses wasn't too representative, but it was just like initial step in this work to see how we can do that overall. And recently we also launched the Kialo experiment. The Kialo was in my mind, but I didn't know how to approach it, but then I saw that there are a few EAPs that had kind of the same topic overall. It was about the like using taxation as a method of funding the ecosystem development. So one, like for example, EAP 2025 was about using part of like adding some fee to fund the Ethereum 1.0, or there were others that would be like directed towards the Ethereum Foundation and so on. So the ideas were kind of in the same direction in the way that let's use the fees to fund the development. And the debates were super heated around these topics. People on Twitter were pretty radical, mostly negative about those points. What was interesting, like with Kiala, is that, and that's something we discussed with Hudson Jameson from the Ethereum Foundation, who tries to put the clearest signal from the community for the developers to make good decisions, is that sometimes people are just too vocal. Like you have these influencers, and usually like on Twitter, you can see few influencers, killing the idea, but that may not represent the majority, or it may not represent, it may represent only one group of stakeholders and so on. So this can be a bit misguiding. So with the Kiala thing, you kind of have the argument and pros and cons for that. And you can, for each argument, you can go inside. This is not a good example, but maybe this one. And you have additional like pros and cons for this specific argument. And also people can signal how important they feel is this specific argument. So for example, like it's unclear how the funds will be managed. For me, it was like a pretty important point, but for other people, it was like medium-sized thing. And there was a bunch of ideas like why it's really hard to be managed, or maybe it's not hard to be managed. And in the end, it represents a nice perspective. Let me see if I can find it. This one? Oh. Yeah. So you can kind of see that was the initial argument that was like cons and pros, and how deep they are, how important they are based on their like density of the color and so on. Maybe like also when we started that, few people just jumped on board. So I just took an article, outlined the things from that article, but then you can see like how many people added suggestions on top of that without like I just shared them on Twitter or something. So that was quite nice. And this is like why we also started to say like difference between EthSignals and Telegraph, because like Telegraph is one way to solve signal problems. Kiala is second, like Canonizer and Opinionator is like third and fourth and so on. So the idea is to be open, to not hold to one solution, but rather experiment and see what works. And finally, the latest news is the like Bogdan and me recently returned from Berlin, where we participated in the hackathon. And would you like to? Can you share it?
I can also share my screen. Okay. So yeah, so our team was in Berlin. We took part in Berlin hackathon, and during this hackathon, we like developed an extension, Telegraph extension. With this extension, we can see like recently voted EAPs. So in our extension, we can see like recently voted EAPs. We can receive like notifications about new EAPs. So you can just you can see the latest EAPs, open EAPs, and you can take part in that. So you can like tap on the EAP. It will open the page on Telegraph, with this AIP, and I can like go to mainnet. One sec. Go to mainnet. Yeah, I went to mainnet, for example, and I can open the most like popular AIP, and I can open it on GitHub.
You can just, if you have this plugin, you can just go to the GitHub.
Yeah, and for example, we can see like results about voting inside AIP page. So on regional Ethereum page with AIPs, you can see results, voting results. You can vote from here. So you can tap on yeah, nay, or abstain, and it will open MetaMask, and you can vote from this page. Also, for example, if you want to start new voting, for example, for non-existing voting, you can go to some EIP. It will open like a widget with starting coin voting. So you can tap on start coin voting. It will open transaction on MetaMask. I don't have funds. So yeah, you can like use it. So it was about this.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Huh?
Nice.
Yeah,
Right.
the idea behind the thing was to like we build this flow, how people participate in governance, and try to outline what is the hardest part about like getting the signals. And with Hudson, he mentioned that how do we engage people more in participating, and we thought that if there are some people who want to be active on this, they may want to install this plugin and get notifications, and thus know when their participation is needed and what they already like supported or not, and hopefully it will improve the amount from the like signals from the core community.
Yeah. Also, will be great to maybe like integrate this feature into existing wallets, for example, for in the best way with MetaMask, and everybody has MetaMask, yeah, and when you go to page GitHub, you will see some injected results by default. So you don't need to install some separate extension for this, and it will be good. It will be great. Also, I talked with Vitalik Buterin during Berlin, and he said that it's okay, but we need like to engage more and more people. So it's the main task for now, I think.
Let's see if there are any questions on what we said.
So yeah, did you say that that's a plugin that's available, or what you were using there? Is that something I could install and play with, or is that?
We posted it into Chrome extension store, and we need several days to review it. So
Oh, okay.
It will be available for everyone.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
But now, if you want, you can just go to the GitHub page, Telegraph. You can find the extension there and install it manually if you want.
So Telegraph. Okay.
GitHub Telegraph and Telegraph extension.
Oh, okay.
Can you stop sharing the screen? I think it's double.
Yeah, I can show you like instruction how to add this if you want.
No, that's okay. I'll wait till it gets a little more established. But yeah, it looks nice.
Okay.
Can you stop sharing the screen?
Yep.
Any other questions on that?
No questions, but I really like it how you integrated it into the ERP GitHub page. So you have it straight there. So you don't have to go to an extra platform to actually go and vote, but you have it right there. Where you
Okay,
Cool.
sounds cool. So you can move next, and Jonas, maybe you can tell a bit more about your work with the opinionator.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, what we did, we had the same idea. Like it started ages ago. It's just a side project we had, where we thought we need a tool that measures more than just coins, like more than just the carbon vote, because it's not really fair, right? We have all the rich people getting voting power. So what we did, we checked what can we extract from the blockchain, like what data we can actually get. And we came up with 4 main indicators. Obviously, you have the main ones like coins, and then we also took gas spend. That's what we have as well. We also took into account the difficulty you solve, like for miners, for example. And then the most important one, or the most unusual one, I guess, it's what we call developer voting. Is that you get we count every gas spent on your contract. So let's say you invented CryptoKitties, and everyone using CryptoKitties, so you probably have a lot of things to say about the state of the network. And then we kept it pretty general. Like you can create your polls, you can create your proposals, yes, no, maybe, whatever you want. And then instead of going into the direction of a voting tool, instead we wanted to just get to have it, like you said, a signaling way, right? So what we did, we implemented some sliders so you can balance your outcome as you want. So let's say, okay, you want to introduce a new EIP that influences, let's say, miners more than others. So you can just move the sliders around and say, okay, the miners have more to say in this regard. This way you have a more fluent outcome of the actual voting process. The whole thing is implemented as offline voting, so we don't require you to send a transaction. You have to sign, however, with your key, obviously, but we don't store those votes on the chain because we thought the entry, so we didn't want people to basically pay for voting. So we store those votes in our server in an open API, but we also give you a receipt. So we sign your vote that you have signed. So this way, you can prove yourself that we didn't let you vote out. Right? So it's still kind of semi trustworthy. Yes, it's on our servers, but all the data is public, so you can technically prove yourself if we actually count your vote. Obviously, it's better if there are more third parties who actually do running all the databases, because it's quite an extensive database in the back end, because we basically stored every single trace from the blockchain. Because let's say, for example, you have a contract which uses other contracts, you obviously have to separate those traces from each other so you can give everyone the corresponding gas. So actually, like, you would have to have a huge database to actually prove it, but it's technically possible. So it's all public information. And yeah, that's basically our.
Questions, maybe? Is it open source?
We are in the process. It's going to be. We're just cleaning up the source code.
Sounds good.
So you said that you like sign. What do you sign? You sign like
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. So it's basically just a string. So this string contains the ID of the poll, the ID of the proposal you voted on. So I mean, our terminology is a little bit different than yours. We have polls with proposals, like yes is a proposal, no is a proposal in this poll. And then you have the address of the contract, and that's basically it. You just sign it with your key, and this is then your vote.
And how user can validate this? Do you have some like function or something like this?
So we so in order to vote, you just use MetaMask, and if you want to check if you have your vote, we have an open API which just shows all votes we store. So it's on our list to like write a tool where you can actually put in your receipt and check if we have it and stuff. At the moment, you have to do it manually. You just have to look at the API, check if your vote's in there, and then technically you also would have to calculate, like you have to import the database yourself and then check if the numbers match up.
So user should like save this signed message every time.
Yeah. So he gets a receipt. So because like he signs this message and then we receive it and we sign it back to him, so he can prove that we actually received it, and he should store this if he doesn't trust us.
That makes sense.
Okay. And what brought you to working on that? As far as I know, Slockit is working mostly with the logs, right?
No. We did in the past, but not anymore. Currently, we're working on a very bigger solution. We got acquired by Blockchains LLC, which is a company based in Nevada. And we're building currently a huge custody solution with tons of different things. And the voting tool actually came to be it was just an idea, just a side project. Christoph, it was at the time when the parity hack happened, when the EIP came to discuss if we should recover the funds, and all the discussion started. And we just had the idea that we could actually measure something else than just coins. And it, obviously, because it was a side project, it took a bit longer to finish. But that was how it came to be.
Okay.
So, and where do you think, like, is it still a side project? Is it your personal interest? Is it like ecosystem support, or why do you work on that, and what is your commitment in the future?
Yes. So currently, we're going to make it open source, and it's still in my project. We are currently restructuring the responsibilities in the company, but it's still going to be one of my main tasks. So I'm still going to work on this. It all depends, I guess, on how much traction it gets. Like obviously, if signaling becomes a bigger problem where you actually see like it's needed for people, then we're going to spend more hours on it. But yeah, so it's currently my main project.
Sounds good. And did you have any plan, how would you put it to the market? Did you have an idea about, like, we had this idea about ProcPower EAP? Do you have something the same or other idea?
So I didn't catch the last bit.
Like, how do you see this product entering the market? Would it be after some EAP emerges that needs signaling, or how do you see it?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it, to be honest. Like, I have more thought that Christoph's gonna take care of the whole publicity thing. I basically just coded it. Yeah, I haven't thought about this. Like, Christoph really wants it to be open source, public, and it's compatible with all other signaling tools and stuff like this. Yeah, so it's a community tool. You do it for the community now.
Yeah, sounds great.
Can you share your screen?
I'm not on my screen?
No.
I'm sorry. I thought I did. Yeah. Any other questions? Maybe what are the next steps, and do you like what we can collaborate on?
Yes, so currently we're just trying to make it very stable and figure out some more bugs. We also have some more features we want to implement. It all depends on what direction Christoph want to take it, because as a signaling tool, we basically have all the important features. But for example, let's say you want to make it a voting tool, then it's going to be totally different, right? You have to set what result you actually want and stuff like this, and there's some other things. Another big thing is going to be the UI. Currently, it's just my crappy design. We have a designer from blockchains look over it, and you can fix stuff. In terms of collaboration, I had a look at your Telegraph. I think it's a pretty good thing. Christoph mentioned that he might be making an EIP, not EIP, an ERC about a standardized way of signing votes. Like, for example, with your contract, you basically sign on chain and it's stored in a struct. Whereas we just sign a string. So Christoph, for example, wanted me to try to figure out if you can implement the votes made on your platform into our platform, which is a little difficult because of the way your contract is set up. But yeah, I think other than this, we are open to collaborate. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, seems reasonable. And like we can continue thinking about that and seeing the opportunities further on. But it's already great to kind of be at the same page, about what we do.
It's also like what you presented before. There's a lot of things we also thought about, but since you already did it, there's no point of us implementing it. The whole, I forgot like what you showed, your other project next to Telegraph, what you showed. We also thought about all of those things, but since you already implemented it, it's pretty cool.
Do you think there would be like a bunch of tools for different tasks for signaling, or rather like one multi-tool on the market?
It depends how decentralized it is, to be honest. Like if you have one tool that is totally decentralized, then I don't see a point of writing any other tool, right? But if, for example, our tool is kind of semi-centralized, so it might be good actually to have multiple tools to do the same thing. But this would be also then important to have this ERC so we can actually use the votes from other platforms, right? Because there's no point in half of the community votes there and the other half votes there. This is kind of annoying.
Okay.
Maybe we should we can have several tools, but maybe we should have some one source of truth, something like web page about all platforms about signaling, and for user it will be useful because he can find the most interesting for him and not find all tools that he can use.
Yes, that's also a good idea. And I think also it also depends how the core developers, what they're going to use, right? And what the influencers going to use. Because if you have one tool like Vitalik would use, for example, and you post on Twitter, then obviously most of the people will use this. So I guess it also depends on them a bit. What will be the main tool, I guess. Or do you think they will just use any tool?
Not sure. Overall, I'm interested to know, before this is super fresh. We don't have a lot of history in signaling and blockchain networks, right? We just got this problem. I'm wondering if anybody else had the same problem and how they solved it. Is it the governments who are the closest to our case, or maybe other platforms? Do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess government would be the closest we would relate to, because I also think they have the same problems, but I don't think they solve them. For example, the social media thing you mentioned, right? people get so strongly influenced by those social media people, and this also now comes into politics. And I don't think anyone's solving the problem which they have. But this is where blockchain can obviously bring a unique thing on it. But still, voters are always going to be influenced by some others and stuff like this. So there probably are some research about this already. Could be good to be looked into. Yeah.
Okay. Brent, do you have any information on any signaling research or like case studies that we can go and check?
No, not yet.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Who was that question to?
To Brent.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, to Brent.
To Brent. Yeah. Canonizer. To me, it's all about the problem is for example, when a hierarchy gets too big and too powerful, an anarchy can take that over. But the problem is when the hierarchy's gone, that leaves a direction vacuum. When there's a hierarchy in place, you can go to the top of the hierarchy, and that top of the hierarchy will say this is where we are going. But if there's just a whole bunch of people, any one person can say I want to go here, but everyone else could be saying something different, and so that leaves that directional vacuum, which that problem is what needs to be solved. You have to and to us at Canonizer, what we believe the solution to that is you need to know concisely and quantitatively what everyone wants. And for example, if you can know that, then if a hierarchical leader says we're going to go do X, then all of the other crowd anarchy can just say, well, that's fine. If you want to do that, go knock yourself out. But the rest of us, clearly, we know definitively by this system that we want to go do something else, so we're going to go do that. And so and also if you can build consensus, a consensus, in my opinion, should always overwrite any code or any law, because so it's all about human consensus. And so that's what Canonizer.com is building consensus, and we're building up you pointed out the Kialo topic on taxation and stuff like that. We're working on a parallel thing, but the problem with Kialo is you have that T-bar where you have the pro on one side and the con on the other side, and that, like everything else on the internet, just polarizes people to yes or no. But at Canonizer, we have a different model where you have the central camp that you're trying to build consensus around, and then and you concisely, and it's like a petition, a dynamic petition. When you want to build consensus, you write up a petition and then you go out and try and collect signatures. But the problem with an old-fashioned petition is once the first person signs a petition, you can no longer change the text of the petition. And also, when you have a petition, if anyone disagrees, there's no place for that person to have a vote and say, well, this is a problem. I don't want to sign this. I'm against this. And so Canonizer, it's a dynamic petition. It's a wiki with camps. And so so once you join a camp, you gain editorial control over that camp. In Wikipedia, when you make an edit and hit submit, it goes live instantly. But at Canonizer, when you hit submit, all the direct supporters of the camp are notified that there's a proposed change, and that proposed change goes into review for 1 week. Then if no direct supporters object to that after 1 week, then you can assume unanimous consensus, and in that way the text of the petition can constantly improve. And when you find the competing people on the competing camps, the focus at Canonizer is always about falsifiability. What would it take to falsify your theory? And then it comes down to the experimentalist to do the test in the market or wherever to see what people like or what works best, or a scientific experiment that could falsify a theory. Then the experimentalist does that, and again, you can use that to force a consensus and stuff like that. But the key is if you can find out what everyone, it's all about building consensus and changing the voting and giving the ability, instead of just having yes, no, and abstain, you can create a whole new camp that has it, and you can concisely state exactly what you want in that camp. And so, yes.
Can
Go
you
ahead.
show some numbers, please, about, for example, how many experiments you ran? What were the outcomes? How it influenced and so on.
We've used it for one experimental method in the theoretical field of science of consciousness. Right now, if you go into that field and if you ask anyone if there's any consensus or what are the leading theories, no one has any idea what the leading theories are, and everyone will just say no one agrees on anything except for, and the problem is everyone's just yelling. When you go into any of the forums, you hear you go into the forum and someone will bring up an issue and then everyone yells their arguments over and over and over again, and it polarizes everyone, and you can never make any progress because you don't know how trustworthy anyone's arguments are. But once you have Canonizer in that system, then all of the yelling instantly stops, and everyone just says, oh, you bring up this issue, I'm in that camp, and you just point a URL to your camp, and in that camp you have a concise state-of-the-art description of what everyone in that camp currently believes and what would falsify their camp and everything, and everyone just states, yeah, I'm in this camp, I'm in that camp, and so they're not, and so all the yelling stop. So only time anything is said is if there's a new argument or new experimental results, and if a new argument or a new set of experimental
I'm really interested to know how many people use it.
Right, and so we've got 60 people to use, 60 theoreticians on consciousness. So do you want me to, I can show you my screen for a sec. Yeah, but, and so we don't have a lot of users yet, but should I share my screen and show you that?
Yeah, try to keep it like in a few minutes, okay?
Okay, yeah, so I share my screen, so let's see, this guy here. Share. So if we come over here and go to canonizer.com, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So I'm going to canonizer.com there, and in here, this is the theories of consciousness, and so here you can see the default canonizer algorithm is one person, one vote, and you can switch that to a mind expert canonizer algorithm, and the mind expert is where all the experts in the field rank each other. But these numbers here are the numbers in each of the camps, and this hierarchical structure is a very powerful consensus builder, because typically when people find disagreement, like for example Kialo and everything has a T-bar, it focuses on the disagreement. But at Canonizer, you can push the disagreements into lower level subcamps. And so you can keep the consensus on things that everyone agrees on in the higher level camps. So you can see there are 60 participants here. And of those 60 participants, about 50 are supporting that consciousness is approachable via science. And of that 50, there's about 40 that are in this representational qualia theory camp. And no one before Canonizer realized, oh my goodness, there's a huge amount of consensus amongst experts on this very critical information. And it's all about falsifiability. And this basically is kind of a solution to the so-called hard problem. But anyway, yeah, so if you want numbers, that's it's so we had 60 people, and we're constantly recruiting more people, and they're coming in and contributing to this. But basically, this is a state-of-the-art dendrogram that represents all the leading theories. And so, if you want to find out what is the leading theory, you can come now and see 40 of the 50 experts in the approachable via science support this, which is it's a consensus. It's not 100% consensus, but there's nothing else close to that. But does that make sense?
Yeah, and how did you what was the problem behind that, or who was like the were this researchers interested into having this one, or can you share maybe a bit of context why you chose this specific field and what were the outcomes of using this thing?
Well, this particular field is what I'm most interested in, and I got extremely frustrated with going to forums and everyone would just yell the same old terrible argument over and over and over and over again. And I wanted to know, is there a leading theory of consensus, and if so, what is it? I wanted to know how the consensus was changing, or some camps leading, and I was so frustrated because no one would ever make project, and that was basically the impetus of why I wanted to create this tool. And so we created this tool, and I expected there to be some crazy naive popular tool like redness is a quality of the strawberry, direct perception, something or other, but it turned out that all the best camps is what everyone agrees on, but anyway, it worked out way better than I even initially thought, and there's way more consensus in the field that I could have imagined before I started this. And so now when I go into Ether and stuff like that, like you pointed out that collecting taxes, it's the same kind of thing. You go into Kialo and everyone's just polarized. They find something they disagree on, even though it's usually minor things, and everyone because no one talks about what they agree on, and you just polarize things in Kialo and everyone starts yelling at each other, and you see the same old arguments over and over and over again. And so basically I think this tool could also stop all the yelling in the Ether community and help everyone find what everyone agrees on and build consensus around that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anybody has questions there? Okay, I'll start. I'll continue sharing my screen if you don't mind.
Okay, sure.
You need to click because it's possible here to share several screens at once.
Oh, okay. So stop sharing. Share. So am I still sharing?
No.
See.
Yeah, it's okay. Right? You see my screen?
Yeah, I see your screen.
Let's talk a bit about what are the other projects working in this direction and what was the overall progress of those. I've added Lumio. I've recognized Lumio is also a decision, like a signal making thing, but it's usually for the closed communities, but it allows different interesting types of voting. It can be like order of preference. For example, you can mark that I would like that, like if possible. If it's not possible, the second option is this one, and so on. And there's plenty of like whenever you want to capture signals, you can select from 10 different types of voting, which is kind of cool. And I also saw Democracy Earth also like getting into the Ethereum ecosystem. They recently launched a voting regarding some EAP on their platform. And while Democracy Earth's biggest focus was on the government cases, they did some real cases in US and in South America and so on. But I think they also can introduce some of their innovations like quadratic voting or liquid democracy to Ethereum, it seems. Maybe we should also invite them for the further calls. Anything else I missed? Any interesting experiments or tools that are out there?
It's only about blockchain projects, or it can be anything.
Whatever helps.
In Ukraine, so we have like a budget, and you can create like projects and apply for the budget. And I know that you can like promote his budget, your project on social media, offline, and anybody can like vote by using his like ID, bank ID or something like this. And I think it works fine because it's not the first year when they like give you funds for your project, and I think we should also like investigate how it works and who vote for projects, something like this.
Okay, guys, and you know anything that's who's working on the same in the same field?
I don't know.
Sorry?
I've heard no, but
I don't know anyone. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't touch the other project yet. It's definitely part of what I'm going to do because end of the year I'm going to write my master's thesis about the blockchain governance. So then I'm going to focus on this.
Okay. And Brent, you know any other projects that trying to solve maybe not the same problem, but overall signaling?
Not. Yeah, I think you guys have covered them all. You guys talked to all the ones I know about, and there's couple of new ones that I didn't know about.
Sounds cool. Okay, so I've added like few additional questions that came to my mind. One is about discussing the challenges in the Ethereum governance. Like I recently reviewed once more the Ethereum survey, and there was some interesting data, and we can discuss what people think are the biggest problems. Then also when we touch voting and like one person on vote things, we start talking about ID and more rich ID layer. And also the DevCon is coming, and we can do some fun stuff there. For example, publish some posters with QRs or something like that, where you can go with the phone through the holes and vote on different stuff we want you to vote on, or maybe something else. Any preference what we want to discuss as the last question for today?
From these three?
Yeah, or maybe you add your force.
When will be DevCon?
It's October 7th, I believe. 7th to 11th. 8th to 11th.
Yeah,
So maybe DevCon.
I just got my tickets to it, so I'm going. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, let's discuss DevCon then. What can be fun ideas? What we can do when there probably would be like 4,000 people, I guess. So how we can use this crowd?
I think we need to engage as more people as possible to make some like decision to show them that they can like bring some impact and they can change something. So it can be like a game with like QR codes, as you said, and the winner will be I don't know. So I think it should be like a game to engage as more people as possible. Maybe with screens, like big screens, so you can like connect with your phone or just like read QR code from your web camera and send some signal about something.
Yeah, should it be somehow connected with the like people probably would have some mobile applications like mobile wallets, and they could probably sign or send transaction, even zero transaction from their mobile wallets, right?
Yeah, without like on chain also. You can like assign with your private key as slot IT, yeah.
Slockit is the company, and Opinionator is the product.
Yeah, as opinionator did. So we can like make some voting without paying for gas.
Okay.
I think it will like with this solution we can bring more people. So,
Jonas, what do you think about using mobile wallets? I guess.
Yeah. So MetaMask is what we use, and we also so we only use MetaMask for signing. You can look at it obviously without it, but the question is, I guess, what do we want them to vote on? Like, would it be something that would have like a major decision like the ERP 2057, or do we just like gamify it in some way? Because if you want them to have impact, then I guess it would be something that they say, okay, I voted on something, and like the Ethereum people actually listen to me, right? So, or do we say, okay, I voted on something, and now I win a prize?
Now we are like discussion what we should do. So feel free to say how you see it and what you maybe want, maybe a suggestions.
we can collect like the most burning questions in the industry. For example, like security or scalability. I don't know, something like that. And people would kind of select what they where on the scale are they with that, for example. Or maybe same with funds returns or like forks or editability. So it would kind of be not again like fully representative because it's only part of the people, but it's also would be interesting to to show the support among those things between regular people. And I think it's like be unlikely we'll have a great idea in the last 3 minutes, but that's like I propose you to keep in mind that we would have this opportunity, and also like hopefully Hudson and the Ethereum Foundation could be helpful if we will propose a nice idea. I think they can support that if it needed. So let's keep that in mind. I think Jonas, you also can join our EthSignals chat if you want to pitch, discuss ideas, and so on.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Yeah. And before we end, I would like to ask like a small feedback on how was this call for you? Do you see it's like reasonable to continue calls like that and discuss such things? Whatever I think on the call, maybe Bogdan, you can start and pass to everybody else.
Opinion about this call?
Yeah.
So first call, everything was fine. Nice to meet you guys, and I think we will bring some new impact in this field. And I think we will collaborate in this field and receive some new insights. Okay. Brent?
Yeah. So my turn?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I think this is great. Like you were talking about duplication of effort. It looks like a bunch of us are all duplicating effort. We have slightly different things we're focusing on, but working together and collaborating, I think we're going to get 10 times the amount accomplished, and have 10 times the impact, and so yeah, this is great. I'd love to have as many possible meetings, and it would be fun to put together a strategy going into DevCon to pull more people in.
Jonas? We can't hear you, Jonas, if you say something. I see Jonas is offline. Maybe some connection drop. So anyways, it's a big pleasure and lots of interesting things. I can't discuss a lot, but I want really to discuss with people who think about that. It's a new field, and hopefully we can faster get to the success if we exchange the information. So thanks for your participation, and I've scheduled a call for like in a month. Maybe we can we might have it more frequent, like bi-weekly or something. But we can continue discussing that in the chat and see. I don't want to over stress, make it as another big commitment. But having time to time talks would be nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Jonas is still offline, but yeah, thanks for the call, and
Have a nice day.
talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks you, Max.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Блин, новенькая штука.